Good day. Welcome to another edition of the Africans in American podcast. Before I continue, I urge you to please press the like button. And if you're new to this show, I also urge you to subscribe. President Trump, since he assumed office as the 47th president of America, has made the whole world know his preferences regarding immigration into America. And for that reason, he has chosen countries that he would want to come to America and those that he prefers not to come to America. As it stands now, quite a lot of countries have either full ban or partial bans in visiting America. But for African countries, there are 26 of them who are now affected by this partial and full travel bans to America. But one thing is very certain, almost all the countries have been affected by asylum and refugee status. Any attempt to get into America as a refugee or to seek asylum in America has been frozen, at least since President Trump's assumed office. So it's quite a strange thing now that he did leave a pathway for only one group of Africans, and that group of Africans is white South Africans. So it was quite a strange thing recently to find a story that tells us that a white South African is in detention. And what is his problem? He came to America seeking asylum, but ended up being imprisoned. Trump invited white South Africans to America. One ended up in detention. This story has made it into New York Times and also Seattle, another newspaper in Seattle. And it is from here down that we find out that a white South African, his name is Benjamin Schowinkel, he took President Trump's advice and decided to come to visit. But rather, this is where he has ended up. He has ended up in a facility, the Folston Ice Processing Center, a private prison operated by Geo Group, incorporated under contract with the U.S. Immigration and Enforcement. And this is where he is now. And in this particular place where he is, he's there with quite a lot of Latinas. He's white, and he came into America thinking that he was coming to get asylum and he will seek asylum. He came through a visitor's visa, but unfortunately for him, he got detained. If we recall, I want us to recall this moment when President Trump had a meeting with the South African president in May of this year. This is what he accused the South African president of. He said white South Africans are suffering genocide, and he ambushed the South African president with his whole team there. Elon Musk too is there. Elon Musk, I should say, is one of the people who says that white South Africans are being persecuted. They are being denied opportunities, and the laws, so many laws in South Africa, has been made tilted to disfavor white South Africans. The white South Africans we're talking here now are Afrikaans South Africans. These are Dutch and German descendants who have been in South Africa for over 300 years. So President Trump here now, he has been carrying this campaign on that he's protecting the white South Africans. He has not hidden the fact that his preference is for whites to come into America. And this rhetoric is due to this particular man, Joshua Malema. Joshua Malema and his Black Empowerment Party, EPP, they say that they want Black empowerment for Black South Africans because they have suffered extensively under apartheid. So his rhetoric is rather harsh, and this is the rhetoric that was used by President Trump and his team to say that there's genocide of whites in South Africa. So we get this story now, and quite a lot of South Africans too have come in. White South Africans have been invited. But what is the story about this white man particularly? Well, he got to learn that a lot of South Africans have been invited. They have a pathway into America, and he came through a visitor's visa. But unfortunately for him, that pathway is not the pathway by which he should have come. He came in and he thought that through the visitor's visa, he would have access, but rather, immigration officer stopped him handcuffed him, and sent him to that facility that I had already shown there. So now he's undergoing, it is from there that he's now supposed to be seeking asylum, because as it turns out, President Trump's rules and laws regarding coming into America to seek asylum at entry ports also caught up with him. Rather, it should have been that he would have asked for as a refugee or sought asylum prior to coming to America, and he would have been processed. And this is what happened to quite a number of Americans who came to visit also sometime in July this year. They were welcomed by the State Department. They were given a good welcome. This is them arriving. And they were welcomed by
Welcome to the United States of America.
Officials of the State Department.
A lot of you, I think,
so
farmers,
obviously,
right? When you
Benjamin would have been thinking that this is the kind of welcome he was going to get.
In foreign soil, and they will blossom. They will.
It is expected that they will, because they tend to have better economic, they are better off economically, they will contribute rather than as the blacks who come seeking asylum. So this is the kind of expectation that Benjamin had when he was coming to America, but this is not what he got. What he got is that it's not in ICE, it's not in Georgia. And this is what he said: I never expected this to happen. When he was interviewed, I expected a little bit of red tape, but not to be in prison. And he speaks English and Afrikaans, and now shares the dormitory with dozens of immigrants, mostly Latina speakers, arrested under Trump's mass deportation effort. And like them, he wears a blue uniform of non-criminal detainees, sleeps in a metal bed bunk, and earns $2 a day for cleaning duty. Apparently, he was actually well off in South Africa. This is what's happening now, and this is the uncertainty that has beclouded the Trump administration's various suits of immigration updates regarding status, different categories of benefits people are seeking either, and this is what has created, there's a big fog in the immigration space now in America, because President Trump's team continues, the State Department continues to update, ICE continues to update, the Homeland Department also continues to update, and this creates a lot of fog. So obviously, this is what he did not know. We saw that 59 Afrikaans have already come, and more may have come through the refugee status. It is only them that the Trump administration seeks. Trump also wants many people from Europe to come, but unfortunately, the birth rates there, it's really low, very, very low, and he can't seem to have them. Anyway, Benjamin has gotten a lawyer, and that lawyer's name is Matti Sosjenbloed. He's a former anti-apartheid human rights activist, and he has taken this matter up, and obviously he may have been the one who has made sure that this is Benjamin's case is now in the domain of the media, and we get to see that is being promoted. If for nothing else, it was very clear they weren't hiding it, that he's a white man and he should not be in a place full of Latinos. He was very different. Benjamin, in fact, even said that, when the Latinos continue to ask him, "What are you doing here?" It's a very rare case, and it's a very interesting story, no doubt. We'll continue to watch it. But there's the fate of a lot of people. We know how these deportations have affected the relationship between Trump and many African countries. South Sudan will have their temporary protection status soon ending. We now see also that the Somali society is also under siege, seriously. They are being accused, many of them have been accused of a lot of things in Minnesota and in Minnesota there, and in Minneapolis and St. Paul and most of the cities around where they have big populations of Somalis. So they are having a lot of problems. Every single African community in America is embattled somehow, and many people are very worried. It's creating a lot of anxiety among the African immigrant class there. But one other group too that had cause to be worried recently was President Trump, when he took this action against militants in Nigeria, and he bombed Nigeria. That was a big story. There was a lot of concerns about it. But funny enough, like I've always said, President Trump's actions in Nigeria are quite popular. I made a video about it. It went viral. It was one of our good videos. And in that video, we got to see that a lot of the comments tended to support President Trump for that action. Like I said, President Trump is looking to midterms elections, and he's looking to his base, the evangelicals. And that evangelicals have been feeling that Christians are being persecuted. It was reported in Sky News, and President Trump chose on that to try to win back some of the goodwill he has been losing because of his unbridled support for Israel and the actions that Israel has taken in the Middle East. Nevertheless, one thing just emerged recently. We found out that that action that was taken off, it turned out that it was tomahawk missiles that was used in that action. And the tomahawk missiles, unfortunately, there were 12 of them, as the New York Times reported. A number of them did not explode. These are pictures of 3 of the tomahawk warheads that were found in farmlands in Nigeria. So they did not explode, and they became a hazard to some Nigerian farmers in a village called Ofa in Kwara State. So much as the intent here was to blow out militants, we still haven't gotten information as regarding to the militants that were even killed. But luckily for the villagers in this particular attack here, in this place here where they found these ordinances, they were not harmed. They are very grateful that they were not harmed. Like we have always said, the communities in Africa here tend to support President Trump because they are mainly Christians. The way the immigration distribution in a country like Nigeria that has 50% of our population Muslim and 50% Christian is that the Christians tend to come to Europe and America, and the Muslims tend to go to Egypt, Middle East, Saudi Arabia, and all those other places where they are culturally close and culturally aligned. That is not to say they are not in America. They are in America, but if you do a sampling of them, most of them tend to be more Christians. If you find other people from countries like Burkina Faso, from Mali, who have now been part of this band, they tend to be more predominantly Muslims. So it turns out that, like I said, that operation was a nothing burger. It didn't really do anything. The kind of militancy they have in Africa that is causing these problems for the Christians and all communities where they operate is one that is very long-running and extensive. It is very damaging. It is terrorism at a scale that the countries have not seen. It's creating displacement to a large extent, and it has even led to economic downturn because many people don't go to their farms anymore because they're afraid of these militants. They may be Islamic militants, but they also attack Muslims and they attack Christians. Anyway, one other important thing too is that we know a war that created a lot of displacement, and that was the Somali War. The Somali War was a civil war, and in 1991, when that war happened, the Somali state collapsed. They practically became a failed state, and Hussein Habre, then, if I remember, he was trying to. They went into a civil war. The rebels in Mogadishu and all the displacement and ferocity of that war created these huge refugees that we now see, Somali refugees we saw across the Western world. But unfortunately also for Somalia, one other thing was created out of it. One part of Somalia broke off from Somali properly, and that part of Somalia is Somaliland. I think there's also another part that is claiming independence for themselves, and that's Puntland also. So there's this fraction in Somalia, and that fraction recently came into international limelight when Israel, of all countries, recognized Somaliland, and it has created a lot of tensions now between the Somali community. I would want to know if you're a Somalian or if you know Somalians in America, I want to know what they think about this recognition by Israel of Somaliland. But nevertheless, this is how the people in Somaliland feel about it. They are joyous, to say the least, very, very joyous. And they have been celebrating, and the celebrations have been very extensive. This is also the recognize Somaliland. One thing I will say though is that I get to understand as Africans, we get to understand that there are fractures within our communities. But one group of people who were not happy about this are definitely the Somali people themselves. And this is the demonstrations going on in Mogadishu. what it may lead to now is that it may lead to more tensions, it may lead to an escalation, and it may lead to more war. It may lead to a fracturing of Somalia in a manner that because the geopolitical implication is that Israel is going to build a base there. Already we know Israel is aligned to UAE. UAE is very much entrenched in Somaliland. They have a port in Berbera. Israel will have access to that port, and from there, they will also be watching the investments made by Turkey in Somalia. So there's geopolitical implications in this particular approval. It may mean now that, especially as the whole Muslim world and the African Union has condemned this, it may mean that a military action may be taken. We got to see the fractures in communities when the Ethiopian war happened, and we got to understand that even people like, even though they are one country, Ethiopia, there's still the Oromo, there's still the Tigray, there's still the Amhara, there are all these groups, and they all form different coalitions and cleavages when they have political problems like this. So for those Somalians in America now who are now having serious problems with President Trump, obviously, we have not got a clear statement from the State Department regarding this particular recognition by Israel. They will be worried, and they will be looking at all that is going on. Or at a time, they are being under pressure, they are being investigated, they're under scrutiny, and they're under the thumb of a very decisive actions taken against their community by President Trump. Anyway, this is where I end the video for today. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. If you have any views regarding the opinions I just expressed, please put them in the comment section. My name is Ebimo Amongo. Until the next video, you have a good day.